This is CNN Breaking News.
You're live in the CNN newsroom. I'm Ana Cabrera in New York. Thanks for being here. Our breaking news this hour. House Republicans have just released a transcript of what was described as a tense, closed-door interview with fired FBI Director James Comey about how he handled investigations having to do with the president and Hillary Clinton. Let's get right to CNN's Laura Jarrett. And Laura, I know you're still going through these transcripts. What are the big takeaways so far?
Yeah, that's right, Anna. We've got 200 plus pages here. But so far, one of the interesting takeaways was some questioning about the president's first national security advisor, General Michael Flynn. And of course, we remember the recollection of what Comey said about how the president allegedly asked him to let the investigation into Flynn go early on in January of 2017. And so Comey was asked about the fact that Flynn has now been cooperating with the government, ultimately pleading guilty to lying to investigators. And so I want to read to you just a little bit of what he told House members yesterday on that point. And he says, of course, there was no chance at all that I was going to abide by that direction to let the Flynn investigation go. And then he goes on to say, when I saw the public accounts of his plea and cooperation, I felt as a citizen glad that he was held accountable for his crimes and that he was assisting the United States. So it seemed to me like a just outcome. So just a little interesting color there about how he's looking at this. Of course, one of the things that investigators have been really interested in, because obviously it could go potential to obstruction of justice if the president was trying to disrupt an ongoing investigation, asking Comey to let the Flynn investigation go. But he doesn't wade into obstruction, at least that I've seen thus far. Says that's an issue for the special counsel to look into, as he has said before. And then so far, we've seen a lot of rehearsing of old territory in this transcript, Anna. I got to tell you, a lot on how the FBI looked into Hillary Clinton's handling of classified information, of course, how she treated those classified emails that we've heard so much about for the last couple years. We are a lot of treading over old territory about the tarmac meeting between former President Bill Clinton and then Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and whether Comey thought that that was inappropriate. He's, of course, weighed in on that in the past, saying he thought it was, and it was part of the reason he thought the Attorney General Loretta Lynch should step aside. And then he's also asked by Republicans early on about a former FBI counterintelligence official, Peter Strzok, that we've heard so much about from President Trump. Of course, Strzok was on both the Russia investigation and the Hillary Clinton email investigation. And he's asked whether he thought that his text messages with Lisa Page, another FBI official, were appropriate. Comey said he thought that they were not appropriate, as he has already said in the past. And he also said that he thought if he had known about them at the time, he would have taken those two individuals off of those investigations, Anna. So some interesting color here, but much we have already seen in the past, as Comey said that we would.
Yeah, let's listen to Comey, in fact, what he had to say about the interview on Friday.
After a full day of questioning, two things are clear to me. One, we could have done this in open setting. And two, when you read the transcript, you will see that we're talking again about Hillary Clinton's emails, for heaven's sake, so I'm not sure we need to do this at all. But I'm trying to respect the institution and to answer questions in a respectful way. You'll see I did that in the transcript.
Laura, we know Comey has testified before Congress in public settings at least a couple other times before this. What was the point of him going back before Congress?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I think many feel as if this was a last-ditch effort by House Republicans before Democrats retake the House in January to try to get the last squeeze of information out of somebody who was, of course, very key to decisions about both the Clinton investigation and the Trump-Russia investigation. So Comey is at the heart of all of this. But so far, he's not adding anything new to the equation, Anna.
All right, Laura Jarrett, thank you for that quick reporting, that quick turn. Also tonight, everyone has been lying, and Robert Mueller knows it. Over the next hour, we'll walk you through a series of revelations that make clear the special counsel's Russia probe is focused deep inside the West Wing. We will talk about Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort, the lies they allegedly told, the laws they broke, and the communications they allegedly had with the White House. But before we can even do that, we have to talk about this. For the first time ever, federal prosecutors have connected the President of the United States to two federal crimes before the 2016 election. In a court filing yesterday, they say Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, was acting at Trump's direction when he twice broke campaign finance laws by paying off these two women that claim they had an affair with Trump. and would have gone public with their stories before the election. Here's the key line. In particular, and as Cohen has now admitted, with respect to both payments, he acted in coordination with and at the direction of Individual One. Individual One being the code name for the president. Today, he denied he did anything illegal with either Cohen or with Russia.
There was no collusion whatsoever. There never has been. The last thing I want is help from Russia on a campaign. You should ask Hillary Clinton about Russia because she financed the fake dossier.
Sir, did you direct Michael Cohen to commit any violations of law?
No.
Let's get right to CNN political correspondent Sarah Murray. Sarah, prosecutors did not mince their words in describing this hush money scheme.
No, they really didn't. Obviously, as you pointed out, they implicated President Trump in these payments. And the Southern District of New York, they were very harsh when it came to Michael Cohen. They said he deserved substantial jail time. And in particular, they had an issue, obviously, with these payments. Here's what they said about Michael Cohen's move to make these hush money payments in violation of campaign law. They said, while many Americans who desired a particular outcome to the election knocked on doors, toiled at phone banks, or found any number of other legal ways to make their voices heard, Cohen sought to influence the election from the shadows. And so you see the Southern District of New York taking it very seriously that Michael Cohen, hand in hand with Donald Trump, tried to influence an election in a legal manner. Anna.
The court document we just talked about was a sentencing memo from the Southern District of New York, separate from Robert Mueller's filing in his own sentencing memo for Cohen. And in it, they detail a previously unknown contact that Cohen had with a Russian way back in 2015. Tell us about that, Sarah.
That's right. In addition to Michael Cohen coming clean with them about the Trump Tower Moscow project and how it had been going on longer than he was originally honest about and how he kept Trump in the loop about that, he also talked about this Russian national who approached him around November of 2015. And here's what the filing from Mueller's office said about that. Cohen received the contact information for and spoke with a Russian national who claimed to be a trusted person in the Russian Federation and who could offer the campaign political synergy and synergy on a government level. This person, who is never named, even offered to set up a meeting between then-candidate Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, Michael Cohen apparently never took this person up on the meeting, but it is yet another example of the Russians trying to infiltrate the Trump campaign or Trump's inner circle, trying to make inroads there, Anna, and very early in the 2016 presidential campaign.
All right, Sarah, stay with me. I want to come back to you to talk Manafort in just a bit. But let's focus on Cohen right now. And with us to do just that is former Clinton White House counsel Jack Quinn and former prosecutor for the Justice Department, Joseph Moreno. So, Jack, Trump says he's happy with what he sees in these memos. You've advised a president, if you were Trump's attorney, would you be happy with what's in these filings?
I would be anything but happy. I think that the filings in both cases should make people in the White House and in the Trump legal team exceedingly worried about what's coming next.
Joseph, the president points out in these documents that they don't prove collusion. He says the last thing he'd want is help from Russia, but that's not entirely true. Let's listen.
There was no collusion whatsoever. There never has been. The last thing I want is help from Russia on a campaign. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
Besides Trump asking for those emails, he also, we know, at least his campaign was willing to accept help from Russia because of that Trump Tower meeting. But Joseph, is the president right when he says these documents don't prove collusion?
Hi, Anna. Well, first off, no. I mean, these documents don't prove or disprove collusion. It's perhaps a small sigh of relief on the president's defense side that they don't come out and outright lay it out there, but I would think he's far from out of the weeds here. There's a reason that the president keeps going back to this notion of collusion or the lack thereof, right? Remember, half the law is in the courtroom, the other half of the law is in the court of public opinion, and the president is very much fighting in the court of public opinion, and so he's going to keep that bar at collusion and say anything short of that just falls short. I think the president believes he can probably weather an obstruction case. He believes he can weather a campaign finance case, but he knows his support collapses both congressionally and in the American population, if a collusion case is built against him. And so that's why he's going to keep pounding that drum. Now, if that evidence does appear, he may have to pivot, and we'll see where that goes.
We know the president has over and over again tried to call this all a witch hunt, but these documents do point directly to Mueller's mandate about Russia's involvement in the 2016 election and potential connections with the Trump campaign or Trump's inner circle. He talks about the Trump Tower Moscow project. He says it would have been lucrative and would have likely needed Russian government assistance to go through. Mueller also notes that it came at a time when Russia was interfering in the election.